Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's video is all about mastering the art of jollof rice. If you're planning to make jollof for the first time or you're looking to up your jollof game, then this video is for you. I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process from selecting the right ingredients, my favorite cooking technique, and I'll be sharing with you loads and loads of tips on how to get your jollof perfect every time, no matter your skill level. This is a cook with me video, so let's dive in and get started. So just a heads up, this video is going to be a bit lengthy simply because I'm trying to make it as detailed as possible so you get your perfect jollof rice on the first try. If you want a shorter video on jollof rice, I do have that on my channel and I'm going to add the link here. So I'm shopping at my local H-E-B. The ingredients for jollof are really simple and you can get this from any store in any part of the world you're currently in. I'm going to get started with the vegetables, which is the closest thing to me. So first I'm going to pick out the tomatoes. They have a whole lot of different varieties here in the US. Anyone would work, but I find the other types to be very watery, so you want to look for Roma tomatoes, which is best for Nigerian soups and perfect for jollof rice. Selecting your tomatoes is very key, so I'm gonna go ahead to pick out the very red ones, which are the ripest. Right next to the tomatoes, I found the red pepper. If you can't find the red at your local store, you can always get the yellow as a substitute. You don't want to take too much of this because it's very spicy. Next, I'm going to get the red bell peppers. Just like the tomatoes, I'm going to pick out the reddest ones I can find. These were also priced per pepper, so I just looked for the biggest ones, the biggest reddest ones I could find. I think I'm done here, so I'm going to go to the root vegetables section so I can get the onions, garlic, and ginger. Like I said earlier, everything on this list is easy to find any part of the world you're in, but if for any reason you can't find anything, please check the recipe description. I'm going to put lots and lots of substitution for most of the items on the list. Picking up some red onion, and I'm going to go find the ginger, and we're going to be done with this section. Next, I'm going to go to the other side of the store to find the rice. There are lots of different options when you're looking for rice for jollof. If you want to do basmati jollof, this is the brand I usually use. I've used this for this recipe and a couple of other recipes on my page. But for this recipe, we're going to go with the classic rice. This is the regular basmati rice. You don't want to use this for jollof rice. Another option they have is the jasmine. Jasmine is perfect for Ghana jollof, but not for Nigerian jollof rice. For Nigerian jollof, you want to look for the one that says parboiled rice. You can see the color is usually a bit different. It's more golden. This brand I really like. You see it still says long grain parboiled rice or enriched parboiled rice. This is the one I'm going to get today. You can also use this brand. This brand is pretty popular if you can find the other one. So next, I'm going to go to the canned food section to find the tomato paste. So for the tomato paste, you can really use any brand you like. Some are sweeter than others. I know some brands add sugar to theirs, so you want to avoid anyone that has sugar added. And please do not confuse this with tomato sauce. So they're two different things. This is the favorite brand I like to use, which is Hunt. So this is the one I'm going to be taking today. For the spices, you can pretty much use the spice you're used to kind of make the dish yours. But if you want to keep it authentic, we typically use curry and thyme. Those are the two main spices for jollof rice. And you can substitute dried thyme with fresh thyme if that's easier for you to find. I'm also going to grab a pack of bay leaf and I'm going to try to find salt. Only two items left to get. For the oil, you can use any type of oil you usually use at home. I know some people only like to use olive oil or avocado oil, maybe for health reasons. You can use whatever oil you prefer. For jollof rice, I usually use vegetable oil, so that's what I'm going to get. Living here, I found a little space for Nigerian food. I'd never seen this before. They had so many Nigerian ingredients. I found egusi, ogbono, crayfish. I even saw pounded yam. And I was really just so happy to find Nigerian ingredients. Here I saw gari, I even saw stockfish. I couldn't believe it. So if you're ever in Texas and you want to shop, you should probably check out H-E-B. This post is not sponsored by H-E-B. I was just super excited to find Nigerian ingredients at a regular grocery store in America. I even found Knorr Cube, which I didn't think I was gonna find, so I was really excited about that. I'm going to go get the final item on the list, which is the meat. I saw plantain as I was walking by and I couldn't help myself. I know this is not on the list, but Nigerian jollof is usually eaten with plantain. So if you find this, definitely grab some. Sadly, they did not have the really ripe ones, so I just picked out some of the yellow ones I could find. Now that's done, I'm going to go get the final item on the list, which is the meat. For jollof rice, you can use any meat you like. You can use beef, turkey, goat meat, depending on what you prefer. For this recipe, I'm going to be using chicken. And you can use any part of the chicken you prefer. I usually like to get the whole cut up chicken, which is this one. And I like this one because you get like most of the parts of the chicken in one package. Now off to the checkout line to pay for these items. I initially planned to show the exact amounts that the dish would cost, but I couldn't achieve that today because I added some extra items and I got bulk of some things like the oil. Of course, I'm going to use that multiple times. The main dish would cost about $20 to $25 depending on where you're shopping from, and that should be enough to feed about 5 to 6 people. I'm done shopping. I'm gonna go home now, wash my hands and get ready to start cooking. Back home now, and I'm gonna get started on making the jollof rice. One of the main ingredients of jollof rice, especially good jollof rice, is a really rich meat broth. And I'm going to get my meat broth by boiling the meat first. But before that, I'm going to give this a good rinse. Here, I'm just cutting the bigger pieces so the meat can cook evenly. You can also get meat broth or meat stock from the store. I personally do not like the pre-packaged ones, especially when you're making a Nigerian dish. We usually make our meat broth from scratch, so I would always advise for you to make yours yourself. And just a little reminder, if you want to skip the meat completely, I do have a Nigerian vegetarian jollof rice recipe on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to add the link to this video. Now that's done, I'm going to prep the ingredients I'll be boiling the meat with. I'm going to be using a full onion. Part of the onion I'll use to boil the meat, and the other part I'm going to use for the main dish. For the meat, I also need garlic and ginger. Here I have 3 garlic cloves. I'm just going to smash this with a knife, and I'll cut the ginger. I'm using about a thumb size ginger. Transfer your meat to the pot, and I'm going to season this with part of the onion sliced, the garlic and the ginger. I'll also season with dried thyme, curry powder, salt, and the chicken bouillon cubes. I'll give this a good mix. I won't be adding any water at this point because I want the chicken to simmer in its juices, and there was a little bit of water left from washing the meat. So I'll cover this, allow to simmer on low heat for about 10 minutes. Check on the chicken from time to time so it doesn't burn. After about 10 minutes, I'll add a little bit of water, and I'll allow this cook for an additional 10 minutes until the chicken is about 80% cooked. While that's cooking, I'll go ahead and sanitize my kitchen sink before prepping the vegetables to avoid any cross-contamination. Next, I'll start prepping the stew base. For this, I'm going to be using 2 large bell peppers. If your bell peppers aren't as large, you can make it 3 or even 4. I'm going to be using some tomatoes and 1 habanero pepper. I find that the American habanero pepper is very spicy in comparison to Nigerian atarudo, so I only use 1 of this. If you have a very low spice tolerance, I would advise you to use half or even a quarter. And if you're using the tatashe or red bell pepper, please don't forget to take out the seeds and the stems on the inside to avoid a bitter taste. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this to the blender. I always add my tomato first when blending because it has the most water quantity, so I can blend this easily with little or no water added. I'll blend this until completely smooth. I'll check on the chicken. By now it should be ready. I'll turn this off, and I'm going to separate the chicken from the chicken broth. The chicken is not fully cooked. I only cooked it to about 80% because we're still gonna fry this, and I don't want the chicken to be tough or overcooked. Next, I'm going to filter the chicken broth just to remove the big chunks of ginger and any bone from the chicken that may have fallen off while cooking. Please make sure you don't skip this step, especially if you use goat meat or turkey meat. Those can have really hard bones and can be very unpleasant and even dangerous when eaten. Next, I'll transfer the blended peppers and tomatoes to the pot, and I'm going to let this reduce for about 40 minutes. After transferring your pepper mix to the pot, do not stir or mix. Stirring the mixture at any point is most likely going to make it start to splash, which can be very messy. And be sure to check on it from time to time to make sure it doesn't burn. The goal is to reduce the water quantity as much as we can. While that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and fry the chicken until it's golden brown. Now, if you want to ditch the extra calories from frying, you can opt for the air fryer, your grill, or even an oven. For the air fryer, I usually just put it in a medium setting and air fry until it's golden brown. For the oven, I usually use the low broil setting to get it brown and crispy, and the same thing applies for the grill. Because we're keeping things simple and original, I'm going to be frying this the traditional way, which is with vegetable oil. Another reason I like to fry is that the fried chicken gives the oil a really nice flavor, and I'm going to be using parts of the oil to make the jollof rice. After frying the first batch, wait for about 1 to 2 minutes for the oil to get back to the right temperature before frying the second batch. This really helps prevent the chicken from being too oily. Now keep the chicken in a very secured location, and don't forget to reward yourself with a piece of chicken for doing all this work. Moving on, I'm going to go ahead and wash the rice. I'm using the entire pack, which is 32 OZ, which I believe is exactly 4 cups. This should be enough to feed about 4 to 6 people, but of course you're welcome to double or even triple this recipe. I'll wash the rice until the water runs clear or almost clear. You can use hot water to wash your rice, but if you're using hot water, make sure the last wash is with cold water so the rice doesn't start cooking. And a lot of people really seem to like this rice washing bowl on Instagram, so I'm going to go ahead and link it in the description box. I repeated this process 6 or 7 times. I think I lost count somewhere. So now I'm just gonna drain it and I'll leave it here while I get started on the cooking. Checking on the pepper blend, all the water is almost out. It doesn't have to be completely dry. I'm just gonna take this off and set it aside. Now we have all the components for the jollof prepped and ready to go. Let's make it. I'm going to use part of the oil I used in frying the meat. This is about a 1/4 cup. You can use less. I'll add the leftover chopped onion and I'm going to fry this for about 2 to 3 minutes. Next, I'll add the tomato paste. I'm using 1 can of tomato paste and I'm going to fry this for 7 to 8 minutes. It's very important to fry your tomato paste really well to get rid of the raw taste and also to give your dish that depth of flavor. The tomato paste can burn really fast, so make sure you pay attention to it and you're stirring it from time to time so it doesn't burn. After about 7 minutes, this is what it looks like. This is what we're aiming for. So now I'm going to add the tomato sauce. I'll go ahead and season this with salt, chicken seasoning cube or chicken bouillon cubes, some dry thyme, curry powder, and bay leaf. I never use more than 2 bay leaves for 4 cups of rice as I find it to be sometimes overpowering. I'll give this a mix and just fry for about 1 to 2 minutes. No need to fry this for too long since the tomato pepper mix already cooked really well while it was reducing. Next, I'll go in with the meat broth and I'll add the water. I'll give this a proper mix and make sure you scrape the sides and the bottom thoroughly. And finally, I'll add the washed rice. After adding the rice, I'll give it one final mix, and as you can see, the water is just slightly above the rice, which is perfect. I'll cover this and allow to cook on medium/high heat for about 30 to 35 minutes. If you notice that before the 35 minutes the rice is burning, that's perfectly fine. Jollof rice is supposed to burn. That is what gives it its signature smoky flavor. After about 35 minutes, the rice should be fully cooked. I'll mix this up. You'll notice at first it may be a bit clumpy. That is perfectly normal. The more you mix, the more you let out the steam, and in no time it's going to start to separate. One important tip I forgot to add is that when you're making original Nigerian party jollof, you want to avoid using a non-stick pot. And the reason for this is if you want that signature smoky jollof rice flavor, it's very hard to achieve this using a non-stick pot. So you want to opt instead for a regular cast iron pot, which is what I'm using right now, or a stainless steel pot, or a traditional or local iron pot. I'll add the link to some good jollof rice pots. If you're interested, you can check the link out in the description box. If at this point you notice your jollof rice is still sticky or very mushy, it may be because you added a little too much water. Sometimes it can also be as a result of the type of rice you used. Aside from the one we picked up in store, I'll provide you with some good recommendations of great rice brands that will give you a really nice jollof. So be sure to check that out in the description box. I'm going to go ahead and serve the rice. It smells amazing and it looks amazing. It tastes absolutely delicious. I have no doubt in my mind that yours will come out this perfect when you use this recipe. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you found any parts of it helpful, please let me know by leaving me a tomato emoji in the comment section. If you have any additional questions about this recipe, please feel free to leave me a comment or send me a DM on my Instagram. My Instagram name is Kiki Foodies. I'm going to enjoy this the original way, which is with fried plantains and chicken. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And if you have, thank you so much for subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.